But we're excited here to welcome in Chad Moore, University of Hawaii football. As joining us now is UH football special teams coordinator and tight ends coach Thomas Sheffield. Thomas, what's up? I feel like it's been like a while since we've had you on the show, so I'm stoked to have you back on and talk about the team.
Yeah, stoked to be back on. Appreciate you, Koo.
All right. So, of course, want to invite you on because now that fall camp has wrapped and we are officially in game week, want to speak specifically about your unit in special teams and just get your overall thoughts on what you saw in the fall.
Yeah, fall camp's gone really well. I think we've taken a lot of big strides to get to where we want to go. Obviously, the work is never done, and we can't ever be satisfied with what we put on film. Just got to continue to work. But I think the kids have really accepted the challenge of what we're trying to get accomplished, and they are listening and doing everything that we're asking them to do. And we have really good leadership, and so leadership goes a long ways when you're talking about special teams, and you guys you have people like Logan Taylor, Noah Kemma, Jemai Otis, Peter Monema, just a bunch of guys who are really the older guys who are really bought into what we're trying to accomplish, and they understand how big of an impact special teams can have on a game.
Yeah, and that's something we also made reference to in our first hour of the show, giving a lot of credit to the special teams because it's almost like the thankless unit at times where
Yeah.
you definitely notice when things go wrong. But
Yeah.
whenever nothing goes wrong and maybe nothing crazy stands out, it's kind of like an afterthought. But just not making any mistakes is kind of the key, especially on special teams. So I wanted to talk to you, though. I have to ask the question. I feel like I already know the answer, but I have to ask because I know the fans want to know on what the kicker situation is between Kansei and Cluth.
Yeah, so they're still battling. I know we're in game week and people want to have a starter named, but to be fair to the kids, I just think that competition needs to continue to go through at least for through the week. We've gone through all of fall camp. They've kicked the same number of kicks from the exact same spots, and there's one kick that separates them from who's the starter and who's not. And so now that it's game week and there's a little more pressure on them, I just want to see what they're made of and who's going to really set themselves apart from one another. And so we're going to probably go at least for sure until Friday before we make that decision. And if it's still one kick difference, I might make that decision in pregame. So depending on how their pregame goes. And they both understand that. They both are very aware. We're very honest with our guys. The good thing about it is they're very talented. They're both very talented. So we have depth at the kicking position, which is a huge positive. I'm glad that it's such a hard decision to have to make because that tells me everything I need to know about those two boys. They're very competitive. They're mentally tough and they're competing and they're fighting for that job. And again, it shows that we have depth at the position.
Yeah, for sure. And we are joined by UH football special teams coordinator and tight ends coach Thomas Sheffield. I want to get into Tylen Hines. So we had chatted about him earlier in the show, but wanted to get your take mainly because we already knew that he was making the move from being a running back to a receiver, but
Yeah.
now he is actually going to be receiving both kicks and punts. So I want to get your take on what you've seen from him so far and what went into making that decision to add him to that special teams unit.
Yeah, coming off of last year, it was definitely a position that we really needed to hone in on and find a guy. And so, we have guys on our roster that are capable and that catch the ball well. The difference is what are they going to do once the ball's in their hands? And Thailand being one of our better players and one of our best players and one of our most explosive and dynamic players, it only made sense to really pour into him along with like guys like Cam Stone, Kowali, Nick Cynical. Those four guys have really done a good job throughout fall camp and made that decision hard as well. But when you just look at what Thailand can bring to the game and when that ball's in his hands, and with how well he's caught the ball all camp, it kind of made that decision a little easier because that's the guy you want the ball in the hands of. And so we're gonna let him spin and let him just let it rip, and we'll see what happens after game one.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said it a couple of times about catching the ball because I was kind of trying to explain it to the listeners on how important and difficult that is. But I just want to hear it from your perspective to explain just how important it is to just even have someone that can catch the ball on the kicks and the punts.
Yeah, kick return's easy. There's still people really far away. Where punt return, it takes a different type of human being to stand back there looking up at a punt, not knowing really a whole lot that's going in front of you and just trusting your guys. And that's a big emphasis this whole off season and this fall camp is, just do it for the brother next to you, and make sure that we're holding each other accountable. And Tylen's got to trust his guys that are blocking in front of him, and know that when he catches the ball, he's going to have space that he can secure the catch and then go make his move. And so it takes a different type of human being to catch punt returns. Kick return, anybody can do that, but punt return, you got to have a different set on you. So I'm excited about what Tylen brings, and catch first, return second.
And that was perfectly said by you as we are joined by UH football special teams coordinator and tight ends coach Thomas Sheffield.
And so we're talking about punting, right? I'm curious about the guy that you guys brought in, Lucas Burrow, there, and what you've seen from him. Also, Ben Falk has been there. He's worked with the kickoffs with those guys. What you've seen as it's continued throughout camp, and obviously just don't want to leave them out. We've kind of hit on everything else.
Yeah, so both have done a tremendous job. Ben is kind of the leader of the group, from a specialist standpoint. He's been here the longest. He has the most game experience, and he's really taken that on, that leadership on. And so, the value that Ben brings is you can't measure it. You really can't. I really truly believe he's got the best kickoff leg in the entire conference, if not the country. His value that he brings. I mean, when you sit back and look at last year, we really only had to cover 7 kickoffs. Truly kick deep, 7 kickoffs in an entire season. And so everything else being a touchback or, situational kicks, that value is unbelievable. And so it takes a lot of stress off of a lot of people, including myself, and I enjoy that. And then with Lucas, Lucas may not be the most talented punter from a hang time standpoint, but he is the best punter I've ever had when it comes to placing the ball into the boundary or to the field, wherever we're punting the football. I tell him what spot we're looking to hit, and where the coverage is going, and he about 90% of the time will put that ball exactly where he wants to put it. And so the value that you place on that is unmeasurable as well. And so really excited about both of them. Really happy that we got Lucas into the program, and the value that he brings, not just as the punter, but as a holder as well. Him and Ben are both competing for that holding job, and they push each other. They both understand the big picture. It's not about them, it's about the team. And you get 120 guys in the program that are like that, really good things are going to happen for Hawaii football.
And looking now ahead, game week, Delaware State this Saturday. From what you can share with us, of course, what is this week going to look like as you guys prepare for Delaware State to open the season, and what you maybe know about their special teams unit so far?
Yeah, one thing they do really well is return the ball. Last year that on punt return, they averaged 21 yards a return, which was second in all of FCS football. And so we got to put a big emphasis on not only protecting, because they like to rush the punt as well a lot. One of their biggest return on the year was a 90-yard punt return that came off of a full out rush. It was, you want to talk about like Madden, it was in gauge 8. They're sending the whole house, and the returner just made like 6 or 7 guys miss and went down the sideline for 90 yards. And so, when you play a team that's like that can do both at a high level, you got to prepare, and you got to be well prepared for it. And we got to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's. And, from a kickoff return standpoint, same deal. They're very basic in what they do, very simple, but they're very efficient. And so, we got to make sure we're very sound in the covered game. And then from a return standpoint, I don't know exactly who their punter is going to be right now. It might be a true freshman. I'm not really sure. We're trying to figure that out as we speak. We'll know by pregame. But they do a good job in punt. They're very sound in special teams. They play really hard. They do a lot of good things. But we've identified some weaknesses that we got to go attack. And at the end of the day, the kids just got to go execute the game plan with their technique and fundamentals. And if we do that, we're going to have a really good day on Saturday.
Sounds good to us as we are joined by UH football special teams coordinator and tight ends coach Thomas Sheffield. All right, coach. How are the Cowboys going to look this year? Throwing a Cowboys question. Would you
Super
join
Bowl.
first
It's the
time?
Super Bowl every year. If we don't win the Super Bowl, I mean, it's Super Bowl or bust. And I know we didn't make any, we didn't go after any crazy free agents. We didn't do all these things that everybody's. I know CD's still hanging out at the beach or wherever the heck he's at, not happy with his contract. But all those things will work themselves out. The Dallas Cowboys will be in the Super Bowl. They'll win the Super Bowl. And if they don't, well, we'll take it on the chin one more time as Cowboys fans, like we have for the last 47,000 years, and we'll keep rolling. Those Chicago Bears don't look bad though,
Oh,
Koo. Those
oh, trust
Chicago
me.
Bears, there's gonna be rough patches, but that quarterback, he's something special.
Thank you. Music to my ears. I don't want to get too obnoxious because I have all week to just talk about Chicago the whole time.
Yeah, you don't need to egg her on. She's definitely
I'm just
so
saying they look decent, and
they,
that's all you can
they
ask for. I mean, it
uh,
can't get worse than what they've been. So
Exactly. You can only go up from here.
can
fair.
only go up.
I'm a little curious. I'm sure you've been asked only 107 times what your thoughts are on the new kickoff rules and how you'd go about that as a special teams coordinator and the returns, because everybody's talked about, oh, they're not going to show off anything in the preseason. Special teams coordinators are going to keep all that stuff in their back pocket. And I'm sure there's some truth to that. What would you do? What do you think about the new rules? Would you think you'd be creative with it, or do you think it's just kind of a reshuffling of the cards in the deck of what we already have?
I really like that they have created ways to return the ball again. I think everybody was tired of seeing touchbacks, and then when you have a Super Bowl where there's no kick returns, that's not good for the game, in my opinion. And so, I think one of my fondest memories of Super Bowls was, sorry, but Chicago Bears, Devin Hester taking it back to the crib.
That's
I want
too.
from
Yep.
a fan standpoint, not just a special teams coach, but from a fan standpoint, I want to see more of those things. And so I'm excited that the return game is back. I'm not excited about them starting at whatever yard line they're starting at. I think they take away some of the speed aspect of the game, and obviously it cuts down on the collisions, but I mean, it's football and we all know what we signed up for when we put that helmet and shoulder pads on. And so that's easy for me to say. I'm not having to block a guy who's 250 pounds running a 4.40. However, if I could adjust it, the only thing that I would do, to be honest, is I'd move the kicker back about 10 more yards. I'd have them kick off from the 25 or the 20, either one, so we can ensure that that ball's not going to go in the end zone. And then I would move the kickoff team back to the 50, starting point at the 50. Keep the rules the same. They can't leave until the ball is caught. But now it gives the kick return team to set up true traditional returns of a double team and a trap block and kick out blocks. And then on the other side, the kickoff team, they still get to work their avoid. They can still be in open space, work open field avoid block destruction. And then, I still think from the 50 to the goal line, those collisions aren't going to be as crazy. But again, you're going to create more excitement. And again, if you back up the kickoff team just 10 more yards, I think they start at the 40, get them at the 50. Now you can work some avoid stuff, but you're still going to get a lot of big returns, which is, again, that's the whole reason for the rule. And so, I know it's a year experiment. They'll mess with it after this year, make some changes to it that they need to make, but hopefully it's the things that I'm talking about.
I like the adjustments that you suggested because it's kind of like a best of both worlds, right?
Mhm.
Where you
I
go
know.
like back to where we came from, but we still have the safety measures that are in there.
Yes.
It's still taking into account the collision and whatnot, but we get, like you said, the returns that everybody loves
Yeah.
to see and wants to see, or at least more opportunities for them. I like that. I knew
Yeah.
asking the
Yeah,
special
I love
teams
that you got that
coordinator.
that question in there. That was like the perfect answer because I can see it too. Because you're right. I mean, even if yes, the Chicago Bears were not my team, that was such an electrifying
Iconic
moment.
moment.
Unfortunately, it didn't end with Chicago winning the Super Bowl, but nonetheless, it's
Well,
probably the most memorable like play from that Super Bowl, even though they didn't win.
that's called the Peyton Manning effect. That's why I named my first son Peyton. So, but yeah, if Roger Goodell needs some ideas, I have tons of them. So, I think it would be really good though. Either way, what they're doing is better for the game. I think it makes it more exciting. And that's what you really want. You want to see returns, because again, there's just so many great players that have been return specialists. I mean, Devin Hester just got in the Hall of Fame for it. You know what I mean? And we need more Hall of Famers like that. And so I'm excited about the direction it's going. Just a couple of adjustments, and I think they'll have it right.
All right, Coach Jeff, before we let you go though, what do you want to tell all of the UH fans listening right now?
I'll just, look forward to seeing you in TC Ching, loud, rowdy, and just supporting our boys. Our boys put in so much work, and, they're doing it for each other. But the biggest thing is they're doing it for the people of this island and the state of Hawaii. And so, if people could understand how much they put in, they would be in these stands each and every week, packed, ready to go, and ready to be a part of the new golden era of Hawaii football, because it's coming.
Yeah, the wins are coming, everybody, and you need to be out there. But for now, we will let you go, and we will see you out there on Saturday. And definitely after, we got to do like our jump side thing after the dub that we always
Deal.
do.
Deal. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for everything y'all do for Hawaii football. Go Bows.
Go Bows. We'll talk to you soon, Thomas. Thomas Sheffield, the University of Hawaii football special teams coordinator and tight ends coach.